All right. Hey, Falcons, it's Miss Subdual, and we are here again with another author that we have had at Albany High School. We're celebrating our 10-year author retrospective. So we've got Jeff Zentner, who was our 2018 author visit. So while it feels like just yesterday, it's been several years, and so we're just checking in to see what he's up to. So my first question to you is that you do have a new book coming out soon. So tell us a little bit about that book and what you've been doing since 2018, if you could remember all of those years.
Yeah, I barely remember when I was able to leave the house. So I've got a new book called In the Wild Light coming out in August of 2021. So it's a few months away. It's a book about two best friends who live in a small town in East Tennessee, and one of them is a genius, and she's made this important scientific discovery that earns her a scholarship to this fancy boarding school in Connecticut. But she refuses to accept the scholarship unless they offer one to her best friend as well. The story's told from the best friend's perspective. He's reluctant to go because his grandfather is dying of emphysema. And also, he doesn't think he deserves to be at this fancy private school. He doesn't think he's smart enough or good enough. And so the story is about kind of their struggles, their friendship, how he discovers poetry. It's kind of my Looking for Alaska meets Dead Poets Society meets Goodwill book. Since I visited you guys, I published a book, my third book, Rain and Delilah's Midnight Matinee. This is what it looks like. This is kind of more of a comedy than my other 2 and soon to be 3 books. So that's kind of what I've been up to.
I was actually just mentioning this to the group of students in digital film classes, because they're doing some work with our public access radio or public access station. And I was saying I have the perfect book for everybody to read because it's about public access television. So that was a good one. So one of the other things that you mentioned while you were there is you talked about how you always usually have a tattoo associated with all of your books. So the question is, have you already gotten your tattoo for this next book coming out?
Yep, I have. It's right here.
Ah.
Wild Light.
Fantastic.
It's like the lettering from the cover of the book.
And do you have, what is your process for the cover of the book? Are you involved? Do you try to be involved? What does that look like for you?
My involvement is pretty limited. The decisions about the covers are mainly driven by the sales and marketing folks and the graphic design folks. The author really, they consult us, but in the end, the opinions of the people who have to sell the book win out. My role is they'll send me a cover and I'll say, yeah, good, or no, I don't like it. They do a great job at Random House, who's my publisher, and I usually like the covers they send me. So my feedback is usually, yeah, great, this would be an awesome cover. And then about a week later, they come back and they say, oh, well, sales and marketing doesn't like this cover, so we're going to do a new cover. And I'm like, okay. And they send me a new cover. I'm like, this one's great too. And they're like, yeah, well, sales and marketing doesn't like it, so we got to do a new. So it just goes like that for a while. It took a little while to get the cover in this book, but I'm really happy with the cover they finally settled on.
Well, and related to that, so in The Serpent King, did they have a different idea for the paperback, but because of the one quote that kind of took off and everybody was quoting it, using it, there was the one girl that used it in her senior quote for the yearbook. Did they do that, or was that always going to be the paperback version?
No, that was a different direction they took because they found that people weren't necessarily connecting the hardcover cover of the book with the fact that it was a contemporary novel. People were thinking it was a fantasy or a sci-fi novel. So they wanted to ground it more in contemporary, and they thought that that quote would ground it more in contemporary. They're going to do a new paperback cover that goes back to the old hardcover cover, but just in a different color scheme.
Got it.
Yeah, so they just mess with stuff till they get it right.
That's true, right? And that's their job. And they probably know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So the other question that I had related to that, so all of your books and in explaining this new one are always centered around a friend group of some kind. And you had mentioned, even in your visit with us, you know, especially the kids who are kind of on the outside, and in smaller schools, all of the outsiders tend to group together regardless of what their, you know, interests were. And in bigger schools, you can maybe find your group. So what was your friend situation like before? Is that wrong for me?
Before what? You cut out on me a little bit there.
What do you draw on? Do you draw on your own friendships from the past or current in terms of your inspiration for all of your books centered around friends?
Yeah, I draw both. I draw on past friendships, especially friendships I had as a teenager. I draw on current friendships. I add a little dose of imagination, and I imagine friendships with hypothetical people who don't exist, and then I create those people so they exist, and I see how that friendship would work. So it's a little bit of everything. I pull from various sources.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for visiting with us today for our author retrospective. And we're ending each one of our videos with one last question, which is, what do you do to celebrate?
Just anything?
Anything.
What do I do to celebrate? I'm not a huge celebrator. Like especially now when you can't really like go to a favorite restaurant or something. I just kind of let myself have a treat I like. I get a pizza or, let myself, eat the whole chocolate bar instead of half the chocolate bar, or I'll, buy myself a new t-shirt, or I don't know, I'll buy myself a book, just do a little something for myself. That's how I celebrate. I'm not definitely not a party guy, not a, hey, let's have a bash with 200 people. Definitely that's not how I celebrate.
Got it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, thank you. I miss you guys.